The amazing John Carney.
Woo!
Thank you. Oh, you stayed. So I'd like to introduce you to some cast members of the film. Firstly, there's no words for his performance. Sandy Peter McDonald. Hey. And then we've got the character of Danny, played amazingly by Jonas.
Woo!
And lastly, our saviour, the guy who got the film over the line, BALLAD.
Woo!
So thanks so much, guys, for being here. Amazing in a big room like this. So it's the only place to experience it. So we love having you here. So I guess I just want to know about the origin story of the film and how did you all get involved with it?
Well, myself and Peter met in the 80s.
Yeah.
In Ireland.
1880s.
And a friend introduced us, and it was kind of one of those like, hey John, I'm going to be a filmmaker. Yeah, I'm an actor. Yeah, it was one of those.
Do you like Steely Dan too?
And do you know the whole scene where Travis goes up to Sport in Taxi Driver? Do you know that whole scene?
By heart.
Yeah, I know it as well. Okay, come on, let's make films together. We went and made a short film back then, which died a death. I do have a VHS copy of it locked carefully at home. And for years we did different things, and we met up, I think in Toronto at a film festival, and we were like, we should do something, and we parked, we didn't come up, we didn't know what we were going to do. And then finally, I think I mentioned this story before, so it may be boring. I was sitting in a cafe one day, and I saw a guy come out who epitomized who this character is. I've made a few musical themed films about winners and people, I don't know, whatever. And I always just think losers are more interesting. I don't know why. And it's just a more interesting story now. Like, how don't you get there? In the rags. Like, how do you still have, the will to get up in the morning and make music or art or poetry or whatever it is when it's not working for you? And this guy that I saw, I pitched him to Peter. I was like, I saw this guy who was so brilliant. He had like his 12-year-old daughter. He was trying to throw her into the car and get her to school. And he had a guitar over one shoulder and long hair. And he still had a bit of the kind of rock and roll swagger like that. But like she
pulling out the bins.
Pulling out the bins behind him. And I was like, oh, he's brilliant. Like, where does he go after he drops her to school? Does he go to a band rehearsal? Does he go, is he, Peter was like, what if he's in a wedding band? Like, that's great.
What if he's a really good songwriter?
Well, everybody has one great idea. Well, anyway, that's the American dream that I've picked up.
Nick and Paul, how did you get involved in the project? At what stage did you come on board?
Well, the script had been written, and my agent said, you want to read the script? I'm a huge John Carney fan. I just am crazy about his other films. And I said, oh my God, yes, of course. And I read it. I just wanted to work with John. So I read it and I thought, well, this is great. And I was so excited at the idea that I guess I never really thought through what I had to do in it. But that's how it happened.
Yeah, for me, I had heard that there was a script that was being written by John, and I was just so excited at the concept of being involved in a John Carney film. Also a huge fan of Peter as well, and I heard little bits and pieces, and the main kind of tagline was something like, a wedding singer and a former boy band member turned solo artist trying to find himself. I said, yes.
Also, what was kind of cool is when I read it and we started talking and I saw it, and it was Pete, and I saw Peter's name, and I'm like, Peter and I have known each other for years. we'd actually worked many years ago on an Irish show called Moon Boy. I was just in one episode. It's Chris O'Dowd's show. Peter's great on that show. And so we had met and worked briefly together years ago.
Paul played Gershwin in the show, an imaginary Gershwin, so it was music related too.
I can't escape the songwriters.
And when we had heard Wind that Paul Rudd might be in the film, I went to my wife, Marcella, who's actually in the film, who now plays his wife weirdly in the film, which is very strange for my children. And kind of weirdly kinky to me. No.
And me, John.
Like, Paul gets to say a lot of things in this film, which I say all the time, and she just goes, oh, shut the fuck up. But when he says it, it's like, that's really profound. And I think it may have something to do with this whole thing. But when Paul was like, it was like, Paul might be really into this script, but he's not there yet, but we have to figure it out. We had done a Zoom, myself and Peter and a few other people, where I had played a song and I was dancing around on the Zoom, and I don't know about you, but I didn't know, but they were chord Zooms, apparently. So I'm doing what I thought the character should be to a song that I had half written, like going like, that kind of singer thing where they lean over the microphone and like dancing around, being an absolute fucking idiot. And when I got Paul,
you had the guitar half.
Yeah, the guitar was like this, and it was kind of how Rick should be, was my notion, sort of idea. And then I was with Marcella and I was at home and I showed her the video and she was like, oh my God, you're such an idiot. And I said, but I have Paul Rudd's number, should I send it to him? And she was like, that's kind of funny, like that's pretty honest. And she went over and she was like, doing something over here, and then she turned around and said, like, actually, you know what, I don't think you should. And my phone made the whoosh.
I still have it on my phone, and it was brilliant.
And I was like, it was so nice because this text was like, because of this text, I'm doing the movie.
So I want to talk a little bit about the songwriting process. Like, how did that evolve? Was that part of the original script? And also, just like, what is it that's important to you about telling the story through music?
I can't do it with 95 pages of dialogue. I don't know how anybody makes a great film without a break for everybody just to have a sing-song. Maybe it is the Irish thing, I don't know. Like, even we sing at funerals, it's just like, let's have a party, just to take a break from the pressure of the drama and just sing. And actually, there's this theory now that I'll share with you. In relationships, we talked about this a little bit on set. If you're in the middle of a blazing row with your partner, and it's like the big one, it's like, you fucking said you done, I've given up my dreams for Moon River, and you do it, but you not as a joke, sing to each other for 5 minutes. And apparently, you kind of go, oh fuck it, let's go to bed, let's have this argument tomorrow, and you keep doing that every day. That is the thing, for me, music is something that I go from dialogue into music, and you pause and play the guitar. And I'm a musician, and I've lived and hung out with musicians all the time. And sometimes it's very nice to be able to just take a break from dialogue, take a pause from thinking. And it's 3 minutes long, and if it's good, it lasts forever, and you get it, and you come back changed from it. So I just do it out of that place. Like, take a moment. I don't know what to say here. I've actually run out of things to say. Maybe there's a musical thing that I can put on the soundtrack, and then you think, well, why not just work it into the narrative? And so with this, it was very specific. This song actually needed to do something very, very specific. So it needed to be plausible, it needed to be beautiful, but kind of annoying at some points. I'm sure you all felt like
it's so catchy.
It's catchy, but like all catchy things, it has to kind of, you have to appreciate, yes, this guy could take this song from this guy who wrote it for his daughter and had a verse and a chorus but didn't have a bridge and maybe didn't know where it was going. And this guy makes it brilliant, but he also gives it a little bit of commercial, sort of Hollywood paint job. But it gets out there in the world and it has to be sort of very, very plausible. But I should say that I get credited on this song. The bits that you don't remember of the song, I wrote those. And Gary Clark, who can't be with us tonight, he's back at home in Dundee in Scotland. would love to say hello to you all. He wrote all the good bits of this, of every song that we've ever done. So the How to Write a Song he was the guy who brought that hook and that thing that it needed to go, that everybody could sing
He turned
along
it
to.
into a power ballad.
Yeah, he turned it into a power ballad in a sense.
So for Nick and Paul again, so what was it that connected you with the characters in particular in the story?
Well, you know, what connected me? I mean, I am a father. I have a daughter, not of a dissimilar age. I have a real passion about music. I'm a real music fan, and there were just and there's and there are elements of this is a guy who has a real desire to do something and express himself and has a dream, and there are certain things that are just not realized, and he has faced disappointment. These are all things that are very relatable, and so the character really meant something to me, and I connected to it.
Yeah, and outside of some of the more obvious themes that I think, one of the things that I was really drawn to was this idea of how many rooms I've been in as a songwriter where it could have gone one way or the other, in success and failure and everything in between, and moments where your character's called into question. And having been now in this business for 20 plus years, it's wild to see how many people have gone down that path where they come out the other side with success and their friends still around them, and some that come with success and lose everybody in their life. And it's who you are on the journey that matters, and kind of shows you where you're going to end up and who's going to be at the table. And I think at its core, this movie has the heartbeat that we all love out of a John Carney film, but it really touches on more themes than just music and love, and it's really about family, identity, and who we are at the end of the day. And I was just so taken by that, and it's all in the words these guys wrote.
So, I'm curious about the tone of the film. You have this space where it's like heartfelt, emotional, and funny. How do you find the tone of the film? And was it clear to you from the script that you would end up having this feel?
Yeah, I mean, the tone of the film it's in the script. We wanted it to be a big story, where this transaction happens at the end of the first act and starts the ball rolling. But we wanted it to be fun and entertaining rather than get really heavy and go into the ditch too much. So we had to keep the story constantly moving forward. But then what the themes of the story, once we hit on the idea of Rick being someone who never realized his dreams, but knowing that he could have done it, that if he had a piece of music appropriated by somebody else, that all these different frustrations are, but then the other side of the story was, what does it feel like to steal? And how do you justify it to yourself? And the games and the self-deception you play when you're under that much pressure to make it in the music business or in show business. He's only 27 in the film, and he's the one under all the serious pressure. So trying to marry those two together and make it entertaining was the job. And of course, John is brilliant at getting that across on set.
Well, it's also the fact that it's not a clear theft. It's an ambiguous thing. I would say it's a creative process. It's very easy to say you stole my stereo because it's a stereo, but to steal the line that I said or the joke, and then to measure up. Music is really hard to. It's even harder. We don't hear people in the film industry saying you took my idea ever. It's kind of like you can have it. I've stolen a few lines from Mad Men along the way. And I actually don't feel like it's so blatantly obvious.
They're really cool.
They're really good lines. And Matthew Weiner is such a good writer, he's probably going to go, what an asshole, but I don't need to prove anything. Music is this weird, there's so few notes, there's just really not that many chords. But it's very hard to, I really feel sympathetic, and I think Nick played a blinder in it, and I really do, in that thing of I actually don't blame him. I blame his manager, I blame the pressure to come up with the hit and do. He's clearly a really talented guy in the film, and he just does this little thing that's just a bit wrong. It's not, and I think we do that in different areas, but he doesn't know how much it's hurting this guy. Because this guy, you picked somebody for whom music and really means everything. So to not get, there was some line that we lost at the end, it was like, finally my ship has come in, and my ship hasn't come in. You know, like you wait for your ship to come in, and then it comes in, and you're like, you're not on it.
It's a double blow.
It's a real double blow. So that to me is a really interesting.
So I'd like to pick up on just very quickly before we wrap up. So in this film, for people who have a dream and maybe the ship hasn't come in yet, what do you hope people take from this? And maybe Paul and Nick, this is for you. What do you want people to get in this film in the pursuit of their dreams?
Be careful who you share blunt with.
And if you do, make sure it's either Kevin or Joe.
Well, all I know is I think the movie wants to say, I think in a way we all want to say, when you're alive, these things are bigger than anything. Credit, money, remuneration, all that stuff. Of course, we have to make a living. But what I think the movie, what we were kind of trying to do is ultimately, you die and your manager dies and your agent, we're all going to do that. We leave a little bit behind, we leave our bones, and they disappear. And then every trace of you fucking goes. And what were you fighting for? And in a weird way, music is, if it stays, this is getting a bit hippy-dippy, but it's kind of nice in a way. Music is eventually going to be free, and it will be like bird song or just the sounds of the world. Nobody cares who wrote what anymore, and I think that's the philosophical sort of leap that the character takes in the film, is when he comes home and he sees the kid and he really means it, and he's like, that stuff matters, but it doesn't matter. And that's what we believe.
Well, hopefully the bad guy after seconds, we have to wrap this up. So thank you so much.
Thank you.